Welcome to episode 29 of Ralph's Stuff. Tonight, Bridal Veil Falls on high in the Blue Ridge Mountains on Highway 64 near Highlands. Another beautiful look at nature, followed on April the 12th, 2007. Then we moved to technology for my robotic vacuum cleaner in Wheels of Progress, a 1950s movie about railroads. Tonight's show is a study in contrast between nature and technology. About the first half of the show shows the beauties of nature. In the second half, the beauties of technology. And speaking of beautiful technology, support local public access television, URTV, Channel 20 Asheville. Thanks very much, and hope you enjoy the show tonight. And be sure to watch Rapid Ralph Runs the Roads every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. right here on Channel 20, Asheville, North Carolina. This is Bridal Veil Falls in the Nantahala National Forest, high in the Blue Ridge Mountains of western North Carolina. Bridal Veil Falls is located just off the road on U.S. Highway 64, about 2.5 miles west of Highlands, North Carolina. It's approximately 4,000 feet above sea level. At one time, the road actually used to run under the falls. You could drive under the falls. There was a rock slide that put the huge rocks directly in front of us in the middle of the roadway. However, you can still walk under the falls. In a few minutes, we'll walk around and I'll shoot some video, actually from behind the falls and through it, through the veil of water coming down from the small creek way up in the, even higher in these beautiful mountains. Bridal Veil Falls is approximately 120 feet high. It's higher than it looks. And although there's not a huge amount of water coming down today, at times it does. This is on April the 10th, 2007. And even though it's in April, there are times when normally the mountains are ablaze with beautiful blooms from dogwoods and the other flowering vegetation in the area. We've been having a spate of unseasonably cold weather. So that indeed is ice that you're seeing over to the side. And there is a better view of it. And they say during the exceptionally cold winters, the ice will build up at the base of the falls here. And in really sub-zero weather, the ice can reach all the way to the top of the falls. All 120 feet becomes one huge icicle. That, I'll admit, I've never seen, nor do I want to be up here when it's that cold to see it. We're looking out from behind the falls now, shooting directly through the falls at where they've filled in, and Highway 64 now goes straight rather than coming around and under the falls. A close-up view of the ice. It actually wasn't that cold on the day I was shooting. This is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There comes someone in to look at the view. As you can see, the falls are literally right on the side of the road, very easy to get to, and wonderful place to come and take photographs. Perhaps not during the winter, as evinced by that ice there, but during most of the year. Highway 64 has several waterfalls on it, and in later episodes of this show and in other shows we'll be bringing some of those to you also. Actually, the two ladies in the minivan that just came in are New York tourist ladies. I spoke to them briefly, and they were quite in awe of the falls and the mountains in general. As one of them says, we just don't have anything like this in New York City. Having been both to the mountains and to New York City, I can verify that as being incredible truth. There is nothing like this in New York City. I, for one, could not live away from my mountains. They're just too wonderful. That looks like a pretty deep cave under the overhang. We'll see it again when the camera moves back down. But it's really relatively shallow. You're seeing essentially the entire depth of it. So it's not a real cave. It's just a place where over the eons floods have washed it out back in there. Still, it's a good place to, if you're ever trapped out in the mountains, maybe weather the winter as the old mountain men used to do or something. Hunker down in the cave with a nice fire in the entryway. Certainly plenty of water coming down. Nothing like the volume we saw in the film I had on a couple of weeks ago from Looking Glass Falls, but that was a lot bigger stream. This is really just a small creek that comes off over the overhang and creates Bridal Veil Falls. The name, of course, comes from the fact that if the falls are like a veil, like a bride's veil, and you can actually see through it. It's not a solid waterfall like many in western North Carolina. There are a lot of waterfalls in this area. We're in Macon County now, but in Macon and Jackson and Transylvania County especially, which by itself has over 250 waterfalls, there are quite a few nice falls in the area, including just about 20-25 miles from here, Whitewater Falls, which at 411 feet is the highest waterfall in eastern America. And that also we'll be visiting. Highway 64 seems to specialize in waterfalls that you can actually walk under. There's another waterfall about 4 miles from here, and again we plan on a visit to it shortly also, called Dry Falls, which has a lot more volume than Bridal Veil, but you can still walk under it also. There's a hiking trail that actually goes under the falls. Although if the water's up too high, there's a lot of spray, and the word dry is not really is not really an apt description of what happens. You get soaked, but it's quite impressive. It's only about half a mile or so off the road, if that far. It's not. It's easy to get to also. It's a lieutenant colonel patiently waiting for me to finish filming. So I swing around and give you a little bit more distant view of Bridal Veil Falls as it comes down over the rocks. There's just something about the basic elements of fire and water and earth and air, the winds and so forth that fascinate humans. It's something very basic down in our natures that calls us to really appreciate it. I love just standing and watching waterfall like this. Just innately satisfying. Continuing with nature, I was up early one morning last week, and it's beautiful with the fog and the sun coming up. A totally different world. It's a lot softer than the world during the day with the harsh sun beating down. So I got out my camera. This is one of my little maple trees. This was shot in early April, so the trees are just starting to bud. Those of you who live in the western North Carolina area know that we've had rather a cold April so far. It's the 16th as I put the voiceover on this segment. This is on my property out in Alexander, looking down towards the old milking parlor and the old equipment shed that was used when the farm was active, and looking up toward the housing development they're building up on the hill, which you can't see from here. There's my old boxwood, shrouded in the fog. As Carl Sandburg wrote the poem, "The fog creeps in on little cat feet." My house. my grill, which I was hoping to use, but it's been so cold lately, even here in April, that I haven't fired it up yet, but we'll do it soon. One of my apple trees, and looking up towards the warehouse for my business. Another maple tree. These are what are called volunteer maples that we plant around. This is a Bradford pear. I actually bought this tree. I paid $9.95 for it at one of the big box home stores, and it seems to be thriving. It's about the third year it's been out. Another small maple tree. We look up towards my neighbor's house, which you can barely see. Someone buzzing along through the fog, probably on their way to work. That's the old tobacco packing house where we used to process the tobacco crop when I was a kid growing up on the farm here. Again, the equipment shed and our main barn. I played a whole lot in that barn when I was a little boy. Now, like me, it's starting to lean over a bit. And looking towards the pine trees over across the road from us. Truly beautiful. Fog is nice. Guy waved at me in the big truck coming down the hill. They must be doing some construction over in that housing development. It's a front view of the old pack house. I recently built some new steps. I had some new steps built there so I could use it at least as storage. Otherwise it's pretty useless now since we haven't raised tobacco in about 40 years. It was down towards the milking parlor again. When we had the dairy, we used to milk about 15 or 20 cows every day, morning and night. That's a hard job. Looking back towards my house, and that's one of my office buildings on the left there. It's devoted to the video production company and the book publishing company that we have. And that's the warehouse mostly for the book company. Oh, this looks nice. This is looking across the road. That's Macedonia Road towards my neighbor's house, and the sun's starting to burn through the fog. The sun's coming up over to the east there, or pretty much the southeast this time of year, although it's moving more and more back towards the east. Looking down Macedonia Road, this is my property on the right. And looking down towards the old milking parlor, we had a dairy farm here also when I was young, back in the 1950s. And my father stopped dairying, I guess, around the mid-50s, and we raised beef cattle and tobacco after that. Back up to the old barn. And recently we stored hay in that, but now we're no longer doing any farming operations at all, so it's just vacant at the moment. Although looking quite rustic and nice in the fog. Looking, you can see another old dairy barn and the silo barely in the fog there, and passing through the center of the picture. Looking out my driveway, this is the driveway to the house. I call it my intra-estate highway. That's I-1. The one that goes up by the warehouse is I-2. And that's my, you can barely see it down the lower left, that's my fish tank. It actually has fish in it. Old watering tank for the cattle, concrete tank. It's a little bit of the Lieutenant Colonel. Shock and all on 4-wheel drive, which is Rapid Ralph every Saturday at 6 p.m. Don't miss me traveling all over western North Carolina. Back around to the boxwood. That boxwood's over 75 years old at least. It's an old shrub. In fact, it's older than I am by a number of years. I want to get my grill fired up. I want it to get warm. Al Gore is wrong. We got global colding right now, not global warming. Big difference. I may even get me a new grill this year. We'll have to do a show on grilling hamburgers or something. That's back towards the office building, the Lieutenant Colonel waiting patiently for our next trip. And around towards the barns again. I wish you guys could be here standing with me when I was filming this, because it was really, really inspirational and pleasant. That's the window of the Lieutenant Colonel. I did that on purpose, showing me filming, looking at my reflection. As we move along the side of the Colonel. And this has been a visit to a foggy morning. I hope you've enjoyed it. And we will continue on with the show now. Really, really nice. Nice. And here comes the sun. Hi, sun. And from nature to technology. Of course, being a science fiction writer for many years, technology appeals to me quite a bit. So I was a pushover when I saw this robotic vacuum cleaner for sale at one of the local big box stores. And I've had quite a bit of amusement from it. Plus, it also does a pretty good job cleaning. It's programmed to seek out dirt and continue until the room is cleaned. And then it'll go to its charging station by itself, which is pretty cool. The charging station's a little silver unit there at the very top of the screen. Okay, he's found where it is and he's going to dock. And there he is. He is taking on a load of good old DC current, converted from AC, of course, to recharge his batteries. Then he's ready to get out there and search for dirt again. No problem. He likes the dirt. And he does a pretty good job keeping the place clean, because I sure don't. Nice thing is, you can leave him running at night and he'll vacuum the place quite nicely. And then when you come in the morning, it's very clean. He's sitting on his charger, recharging, ready for the next time you decide to leave him running all night. It's pretty dirty right now. I hadn't used him for quite a while, so he's finding a lot of stuff. Now he's looking for his charger again. And he gets right up on it and does his happy little song. The Rock Island Line Railroad rolled their first trains in 1852 and lasted until they finally went bankrupt for the third time and were broken up in 1980. But this film, made in 1950, shows an America that meant a lot to me when I was growing up, and I would like to think is still there somewhere.
You've heard of the Golden Horn of Plenty, traditional symbol of prosperity and of good things bestowed upon mankind. Well, these are the wheels which carry the Horn of Plenty, wheels which take it to the places where the good things abound and bring it back full and overflowing. We take our American comforts and conveniences pretty much for granted. In our homes, we are surrounded by 20th century miracles. Miracles which are not exclusively American, but which are here so commonplace that they are seldom regarded as miracles anymore.
Dinner's ready. Come and get it.
Yes, it's all pretty commonplace in America, isn't it? The comfortable homes we live in, the cars parked at the door, the bikes and mechanical gadgets of all kinds, schools where every child has a right to expect an education, satisfying recreation for everybody, leisure time in which to enjoy it. Americans, you are in luck. Of course, you've worked for it. You've made the land hum with the song of your toil. But people in other lands and in other times have worked too, worked hard to eke out a mere existence. Why have we been so remarkably successful at it? Why have we been able to make this land of ours so productive? Nature's been pretty lavish, of course. We've lived under a governmental system, the first on earth to make each man the captain of his soul. We've had enterprise, our great inheritance from ambitious and freedom-loving forebears. All these are parts of the American mural, parts of the reason for our golden horn of plenty. But look further. Why a car like this that a man of average means can afford to own? If every American had to build his own automobile with materials of his own gathering and with tools of his own contriving, there would be very few automobiles in the land. Where would an individual get the steel to mold into this beautiful-looking body? Where the vast presses to shape it? Where is the raw rubber to make these tires? The tough fabric to weave with it? These things are as widely scattered as the four winds, or they were until wheels brought them together. The magic of our modern horn of plenty is the magic of mobility, the magic of the greatest interchange of goods and of services which the world has ever known. Take the farm machinery, which helps to make our soil the most productive on earth. This tractor contains quantities of steel which came from the iron ore of the Mesabi Range in northern Minnesota. That ore came hundreds of miles by rail and by boat to the mills along the fringes of the Great Lakes. It was refined with the use of coal and limestone and other elements which were brought great distances. Hundreds of types of raw materials and of semi-finished materials and fabricated parts have to be brought together into a single factory before such a complex mechanism as a tractor or a reaper or a threshing machine can be put together. Each great factory such as this makes use of countless carloads of materials during the course of a year, turns out thousands upon thousands of pieces of machinery, machinery which is sent to every corner of America and to the four corners of the world, for that matter, where farmers need it to till the soil efficiently. Machinery sent at a price which nearly every farmer can afford because it is manufactured by the American mass production method, the method which mass transportation made possible. The variety of raw materials which we make use of in our modern civilization is seemingly limitless, and the great quantities of them which have to be shipped over vast distances are almost beyond belief. Consider the billions upon billions of bushels of grain which are grown in America every year. Wheat, corn, rice, barley, oats, grains which are the staff of life. These billions of bushels have to be transported to elevators, stored until they are required by processing plants, shipped and reshipped until they have been made into flour and bread and breakfast food, and delivered to your hometown, your store, your pantry shelf. Livestock, millions of head marketed in an average year, transported, many of them, several times before they reach their final destination, your dining room table. transported to feeding areas, to stockyards, to processing plants, then as meat in refrigerator cars, to your butcher's cooler, and thence to you. Products of the forest, billions of board feet of lumber a year, lumber brought to the mill as giant logs, sawed into all shapes and sizes, delivered to the thousands of factories which make products out of wood, set down in your front yard as building material, or in your living room as furniture. Countless products to enrich your living. Products of the mine, many of them seldom thought of by the average American in the gigantic quantities which are produced and consumed each year. Products like sulfur and salt, as well as steel and aluminum and lead and coal and copper. Products moving, always moving so that they may be put to your service. Oil, the black gold of our machine age. Oil to lubricate your car, to heat your home, to drive the wheels of industry. Oil to make gasoline and kerosene, synthetic rubber, useful products almost innumerable. Oil which must be transported before it can be of any use to most people. Things which are brought from distant lands across the sea, coffee and tea, tin and rubber, spices and silk. Things in never-ending succession which we bring in from the four corners of the earth. Things which we send abroad in exchange for the items we import. Cotton and grain, minerals, machinery, and fabricated items of every description. This great movement pattern, which is the foundation of our 20th century prosperity, is symbolized by the ingenious machines which man has created, especially here in America, to keep goods moving. The giants of the rails, the trucks for coordinated rail truck service, the huge ships and the vast facilities for interchange between one method of transport and another. One recent development makes possible the shipment of 100 or more loaded freight cars on a specially constructed boat called a sea train. This spectacular and useful device eliminates the necessity of loading and reloading from car to boat and back again at port cities. Entire freight cars are picked up by the giant machinery, stored on tracks within the hold of the ship until they are removed by similar machinery at their port of destination. Here the cars are again placed on rails and speeded to their final unloading points. Another example of the American inventive mind and business enterprise working to provide America with the greatest transportation system in the world. The backbone of this transportation system is the railroad. The experience of a century during which mass transportation has helped to change the face of the nation has proven beyond a doubt that the great bulk of the nation's goods can be moved more efficiently, more swiftly, more dependably on rails than it can by any other system of transport ever devised. The significance of railroads will increase in the years ahead. American business is growing by leaps and bounds. Railroads are almost the only form of mass transportation which can offer an important reserve of hauling capacity to meet the growing demands of American industry and commerce. Railroads have been building for the future. During the past few years, billions of dollars have been spent on America's rail lines. Mobility is the most vital ingredient in America's system of mass production. American railroads, like the planned Progress, Rock Island, are making it possible for us to expand the horizons of American business and to bring the good things of life to more and more people. The Golden Horn of Plenty moves on wheels and rails, on Rock Island's Wheels of Progress.
Go to ralphwroberts.com to see this show again.